One day in 1995, at the guest house of Ngu Dai Son monastery, there were 20 or so people waiting to invite the Venerable Dieu Phap to teach. These people came from the south and the north, taking turns asking questions. As for that wise master, no matter how serious the problems raised by guests were, he answered them very satisfactorily and easily. All the same, as soon as I treat the disease, I see immediate results, shaking the person awake, making everyone listening feel like they are drinking nectar, filled with joy. White Master. I came from Taiwan to the mainland for medical examination. 3 years ago I was seriously ill, then my whole body was in pain. The illness tortured me to the point where I couldn't eat or drink, couldn't sleep, my limbs were exhausted and I had no strength left, the pain was endless. Big hospitals in Taiwan did diagnostic tests but couldn't find the disease. They only said that I had autonomic nervous system disorder. I had injections, needles, and took all kinds of medicine, but all were ineffective. But taking too much medicine can have side effects. My body was deteriorating more and more. This time I went to Beijing for a checkup, and they gave me the same diagnosis as in Taiwan. No one has found the cause of the disease. I'm so depressed. Before returning to Taiwan, I wanted to go to Wutai Mountain to worship Bodhisattva. I just heard an old man traveling in the same car, constantly praising him. If he can cure my illness, no matter how much it costs, I paid it all. The person speaking is about 30 years old, has a thin body, and sleeps. Although the official is dignified, his appearance is very gloomy. From him exudes a dark evil energy, which is very contrasting compared to the good people sitting here. Master's voice was not high-pitched, but full of seriousness and coldness. He said, "You are not my disciple, no need to call me master. I'm not a doctor, I didn't examine you, and I don't dare take your money. Please go home and invite other wise men." Having finished speaking, the Venerable ordered the guests to be expelled, making the people sitting there very surprised. He has never treated anyone like that before. This Taiwanese man, I forget his last name, felt embarrassed. His yellow-gray face suddenly turned red. He said angrily, "Doesn't Buddhism specialize in preaching compassion? Why can you examine someone else but not me? Do you still want to kick me out? While I have never offended you." The master's voice was sharp and serious. "Even if you dare to beat and scold your parents who gave birth to you and raised you, then why are you afraid of offending me?" This statement made him instantly look like a deflated balloon. He was stunned, his eyes widened in surprise, his face turned red. Sang turned pale and couldn't say a word. The guests in the restaurant fell silent, all eyes turned to him. More than a minute passed, and he humbly said, How do you know my business? No one here knows me. I don't need anyone else to tell me, because on your chest you have clearly written 4 words, inflatable disruption very big." Hearing that, he was frightened and bent down to look at his chest to check. The eyes of everyone in the audience were glued to his chest, searching and examining, but did not see anything strange. At this time, he suddenly stood up, took a few steps forward, knelt down at the Venerable's feet, hit his head until it bled, and trembled and begged the master to save him. He said that since he was a child, he was a dishonest teenager. The things like stealing, fighting, cursing people. I've done it all. He did not listen to his parents' teachings, was later expelled from school. He wandered around and joined a gangster gang. Older brother. Specializes in collecting protection money, defrauding girls, robbing. There's no evil thing he wouldn't do. His father was angry and hit him, but he hit him back, causing his father to fall to the ground. He even pushed his mother down and declared that if anyone wanted to discipline him, they would set fire to the whole house. His father was old and so angry that he became bedridden, and his mother had to take care of him every day. And I'm afraid that he's out there creating trouble and sowing evil, and his parents will soon pass away one after another. He knelt towards Venerable Dieu Phap to declare his past cruel acts. When he mentioned his deceased parents, he couldn't help but choke up and burst into tears. So a stubborn rock that was difficult to tame was softened by the master's mighty virtue and had to bow its head. In my heart, I was extremely impressed. It seemed like good and bad people were written on their bodies in master's eyes. He could see through them all. Okay, get up. The monk gently said, if you call me master, you must listen to my teachings. Can you do that? He happily said, yes. Yes. I can do it. I will definitely correct my mistakes. Reform. Vow to be a good person from now on. Okay, I accept you as a disciple. He happily nodded his head. People in the auditorium also. The crowd stood up and respectfully clasped their hands. Today they witnessed a touching scene, so they were filled with joy and praise. The monk told a young monk, take him to the main hall, teach him how to worship and repent, let him bow 1,000 times in the main hall, and when he has finished apologizing, come back out. After an hour and a half, when that Taiwanese man returned to pay his respects to master, he looked bright, lively, and completely different from before. He told himself that he had made a vow before Buddha. From now on he took refuge in Buddhism and corrected his mistakes towards goodness. And after making his vow, he felt comfortable all over his body, as if his illness had healed. Everything that happened before our eyes made people at the scene endlessly praise. Buddha said, all sentient beings have Buddha nature and can do things. Buddha. Just because of false thoughts and attachments, one cannot attain enlightenment. Buddha said again, the sea of suffering is boundless, turn around and see the shore. Let go of the butcher's knife and immediately become a Buddha. In front of everyone's eyes, the dishonest young man once committed the crime of disobedience, was reprimanded by heaven and earth, had to endure the punishment, and received the present punishment, constant illness. Luckily, I met the enlightened master and realized how to repent and change my mind. This is exactly the experience and evidence that the sutras once said, Buddha is the true great physician. Buddha's Dharma can cure 48,000 diseases. I once again witnessed the immense power of Buddha Dharma. Buddhism is in the world, not separated from the worldly enlightenment. As long as we live normally without the slightest carelessness, our daily life will be normal. It is always compatible with the Dharma and can certainly eliminate misunderstandings and scorn that Buddhism is superstition.